Hi, I'm Steve.
And I'm Alison.
We decided a couple of years ago that we'd work hard and save all of our money and start living life on our own terms.
So we bought a caravan and hit the road on a trip for two all around Australia.
So why not come and join us every week for our adventures? Well, welcome back to our visit to Canberra. It's a beautiful town. Geez, it's changed a lot, but it's a great place to come and visit. I really love walking around Civic and just seeing a couple of the old attractions that really stand out in my mind as Canberra, and just the beautiful greenery that you find inside the town. We're going to kick off this week's episode at the War Memorial. This part of the exhibit's really interesting. The uniform that's in behind the case was donated by the guy that's in the pictures at the back, and it's exactly as it was the day I removed it, so it's still covered in mud from the western front. It's a true piece of history. I remember coming to the War Memorial as a child with my grandfather and looking at some of these dioramas or models. They're always fantastic to look at from, and don't quote me on this, but from memory, Charles Bean decided that this is the sort of displays that they wanted in the memorial because they wanted people to be able to have a feeling or an understanding of what it was like for the soldiers who were at war. This was pretty interesting. This table here was the actual table that the British signed the surrender with the Japanese in the fall of Singapore. We really enjoyed walking around the Hall of Honour. It honours all of our VC winners. It tells you the actions that they took to win their VC. Absolutely amazing, the bravery of these men. In particular, Teddy Sheehan, probably our most recent recipient. He did die during World War II, but was honoured in 2020 with the Victoria Cross. He was last seen strapped to his machine gun, firing at the enemy, mortally wounded as his ship went down. Any visit to the War Memorial isn't complete unless you visit the tomb of the unknown soldier. It's a beautiful place to go and see. Ali and I were fortunate enough in 2018, whilst in France, to visit the Adelaide Cemetery. This is where they exhumed the body of the soldier who lays here in Canberra.
Who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century.
I highly recommend this if you come and see the War Memorial to do the last post ceremony. It costs you nothing, but it's a great chance to reflect on those who have lost their lives serving the country and even some old mates. So Ali and I have come up to Mount Pleasant. Now Mount Pleasant is a lookout that you'll find inside RMC. So you have to drive into RMC, just follow your nav. It'll bring you up to the top of the mountain. Just be careful when you drive through RMC because there's a lot of soldiers about or service personnel around, and there's a speed limit for those. As you pass them, it's 10k an hour, but you'll see all the signs when you come in. But when you get to the top, you are rewarded with a great view. Come and check this out. When you come to the top of Mount Pleasant, you'll find a couple of cannons, and they're set up here as a memorial to the gunners who've served in the Australian Defence Force over the years and across all of the different wars that they fought in. It's a great place to come and see, and it's a great view of Canberra. You get a fantastic view across Burley Griffin, Parliament House, Black Mountain, and if you flick to the other side, you get a great view over RMC, right out, and over Fairburn Airport towards Queanbeyan. So just a little secret, used to come up here when I was posted here in the Defence Force with a couple of boys that I live with, and we'd come up here and have a few beers, sit on the cannons, look at the lights of Canberra. Good night out. Looks like the army's been up here as well with a little bit of rubbish behind. All right, next place on the tour is the Australian National Museum. Let's get inside and check it out. So here at the Australian National Museum, we've come across a little bit of caravan life. How do we overcomplicate things? Check this out. Those were the days. Some of the Indigenous art here in the museum's some of the best I think we've ever seen. This in particular was very interesting. This is a baby's cradle. Double pluggers on display, double pluggers on the feet. There's some great pieces of social history which is on display here in the museum. The glasses you see in the background, they belong to Neville Bonner. He was the first Indigenous person to be voted into our parliament. And the brooch here belonged to, and I'll just have to drop her name because I've forgotten, but she was the first woman voted into our parliament. That's Ben Chifley's pipe. And there's a hunk of gold. Well, that was our visit to the Australian National Museum. I quite enjoyed it. What were your thoughts, Al?
I did enjoy it. When we first arrived, some of the exhibitions were not available for viewing, which is fine. That happens in museums. One was the early European?
Colonial,
sorry.
or colonial history of Australia.
And they said effectively they weren't revamping it, they were taking it away, and implied we knew why, saying, you know, it was a bad part of our history. And they asked for our feedback, and I said, you know, to take away those sorts of exhibitions, I thought you're starting to skew maybe what we're showing about our history, good, bad or indifferent. It happened, and you know, and we need to see it, we need to understand it of all ages, otherwise we're going to have a very different view of history maybe. But that's just my opinion. I just thought, I was a bit shocked about how she put it, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, it was almost like she didn't know how to get around it. It was quite weird the way that she said that the colonial part of the exhibit had been taken away, and there was an expectation that we understood why. But you know, as Alison said, good, bad or indifferent, everything that is inside that museum is our history, and our history should be shared entirely, not in the segments that people want us to see. For me, I thought it was good. There was some good social history in there, but there's a heavy emphasis on climate change, and yeah, it's a little bit skewed, I think. And you know,
skewing it,
when you hear kids being told on their excursions, you know, no, it's not called this, this is what it's called. To me, that's a little bit of brainwashing. I go for a bit of open learning. Let's learn about everything, hide nothing, and stop worrying about people's feelings. What's next on our agenda of our tour of Canberra?
I think it's going to be the glass factory.
All right, so we're going to go over to, I think it's the Kingston foreshore, which is on the side of Burley Griffin. There's an old glass factory over there. We're pretty keen to go and see it. Apparently they have artisans on site who blow the glass, but anyway, we'll head over there and check it out. So that was the Canberra Glass Factory. What'd you think, Al?
It wasn't what I was expecting, to be honest, but it was still very interesting to see. We saw some artists in action, and the final artwork, so it was all very interesting.
Yeah, it was. It's a free thing to do. It probably takes about half an hour of your time if you want to come down and have a look at it. It's located down on the Kingston foreshore. You have to excuse, there's another burnout going on in Canberra.
That little burnout.
There's no guarantee that you'll see artisans here every day. They do book out the space so they can come down and make their art. We were lucky today. There was 2 groups of people that was there. The hot room is quite hot, where they've got the furnaces going, but they run at like 1280 degrees to keep the glass molten. So that's certainly something to think about before you come down. But there is a cafe here, and there's a couple of old buildings you can wander around and have a look at while you're here. Well, here we are at the Mount Ainley lookout. What a fantastic view you get over the top of Canberra. At the moment I'm standing directly behind the War Memorial and looking straight up towards Capitol Hill and the Parliament House, and then the old Parliament House just in front of it. Beautiful view of Lake Burley Griffin. Once again, there's one tree in the way of a perfectly good view of Black Mountain, but nevertheless you get to see plenty of stuff when you come up here to the top of Mount Ainley, so I can't complain too much. I keep on losing Ellie. She's been to the hairdressers today and had a brand new haircut and colour, and she's looking very, very sexy. Oh. One thing they're not short of here in Canberra is walking trails. We've found them absolutely everywhere. Here's another one that's at the top of Mount Ainley, but everywhere that we've gone, we've seen them all over the place. So if you're interested in your hiking and you want to go for a bit of a walk around Canberra or even cycle, there's plenty of places for you to come and do it. Well, here we are at the summit of Mount Ainley. This is as high as you can go. It's a great 360-degree view all around town. What do you reckon, Al?
It's pretty good.
The lady beetles are absolutely everywhere. Check them all over this pole.
We must have lots and lots of luck coming to us.
Look at them there. So it's our last day in Canberra today. We're just going to do a couple more things, but we're going to start out the day with a walk along ANZAC Parade where they have all the memorials, which should be a great little walk. What do you reckon, Al? I'm looking forward to this one. We've driven past a few times. It looks good. Yeah, it's the boulevard that runs between the War Memorial all the way through to Parliament House. So just the views themselves are pretty spectacular. But we also go and see the memorials here just as a point of interest. In, I think about 1992, I'd done the parade that opened the one that's behind us, which is the Vietnam Veterans dedication. Lots of phrases written on the wall here when you come and visit the Vietnam Veterans dedication. There's also the words from the Red Gum song. This was very interesting to see. The 6 soldiers who were missing in action from the Vietnam War have all now been found, and their remains have been returned back to Australia. This was very interesting on the Ratsa Tobruk Memorial. This inscription stone that you can see here was the original one that was built by the soldiers during the war. That was definitely destroyed, obviously. But this inscription stone became a step in the post office in Tobruk for a little while before it was brought back to Australia and placed into this monument. Well, that's the end of our trip to Canberra, and it's also the end of this episode. What did you think of Canberra?
I enjoyed my time in Canberra. It's certainly different to when I was there 30 years ago, but I did really enjoy it.
Yeah, it has. It's grown so much. I barely recognised it with all the new modern buildings that have gone up, particularly all the housing that's gone in. Yeah, a lot of people have moved in, but it makes for a really great town. It still has those beautiful little places that you can get to on your own, or you can go out and you can enjoy with 1,000 other people at the same time. Whatever way that you enjoy it, but it's certainly a town that I could live in. I enjoyed living there back in the early 90s. I'm getting attacked at the moment. I enjoyed living back there in the early 90s, and I could move back there tomorrow. What about you, Elle?
I could probably do it for a short time, not forever. I don't think I could live there forever.
There you go. Yes, just a beautiful town, plenty of things to see and do. And we hope in this episode that we've given you a couple of things that you might like to do if you visit Canberra. But we left out plenty of other stuff for you to discover.
Oh, definitely. Yes, we can go back again.
We could. All right, if you liked today's episode, make sure you give us a like before you go. If you've got any questions or comments, please hit us up in the comments section. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please consider doing so, because it really allows our channel to grow. Can we just take this opportunity to thank all of our subscribers. It's been a great year. Your support is absolutely enormous, and it's very, very much appreciated, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. It's been very good. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Have a happy and safe Christmas and a prosperous new year, and we'll see you next Saturday at 7 o'clock.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye-bye.